Near the town of Avdiivka, Russian forces still cannot break through the Ukrainian defense. Ukrainians have destroyed almost all the armored vehicles prepared for this operation. Russians are trying to obliterate the city itself by dropping heavy bombs on it, but Ukrainians continue to heroically hold their defense. In desperation, the Russians are also trying unconventional methods. They loaded 2 tons of explosives into an armored personnel carrier and directed it towards a Ukrainian bunker, hoping that the bunker would be destroyed by a powerful explosion. The driver of the armored personnel carrier hid among the wreckage of previously destroyed armored vehicles. They didn't have to wait long. The armored personnel carrier didn't reach its target and detonated on an anti-tank mine. We haven't seen explosives like this in a long time. 2 tons of explosives wasted. Previously, the Russians had tried a similar tactic several times, also without success. Armored vehicles loaded with explosives always explode before reaching their target. The crew of the Russian T-80 tank was tasked with destroying a fortified Ukrainian position on the outskirts of the town of Avdiivka. The tank managed to take several shots at the target. The Ukrainians chose not to use a javelin missile against the tank, but instead sent an FPV drone with a shaped charge. The drone struck the rear of the tank, causing it to catch fire as the shaped charge penetrated the tank's armor. The grill mesh did not save the tank from the impact. The tank burned for a considerable time, after which the ammunition detonation occurred. Not far from there, Ukrainians also knocked out another Russian armored personnel carrier. It caught fire and burned until it exploded into small particles. Now take a look at the performance of the Ukrainian tank. The Russians launched an attack with 3 tanks. The Ukrainian tank went out to meet them, and with the very first shot, destroyed one of the Russian tanks. Then the second target was eliminated. The Ukrainian tank began to withdraw and cover itself with a smoke screen, but nevertheless, it managed to destroy the third Russian tank as well. Give a thumbs up to the crew of this Ukrainian tank. In this war, we've seen few tank duels, but I want to show you one. Take a look at this video. The Russian tank was advancing on a combat mission, but a Ukrainian tank quietly approached it very close. Only a narrow strip of trees and bushes separated the 2 tanks. The Ukrainian tank fired point blank at the enemy tank and then made another confirming shot. We have footage of this incident from another angle. We see the same 2 shots here. Undoubtedly, the armor of the Russian tank was penetrated, and the tank was guaranteed to be destroyed. Numerous Russian armored vehicles have been burned on the battlefield. However, reconnaissance discovered 2 abandoned but undamaged tanks. It was decided to destroy them using kamikaze drones. The first tank was set on fire and it exploded as usual. Then the second tank was destroyed in the same way. Reconnaissance identified a Russian self-propelled howitzer S-19 among the trees. To hit the target, an FPV drone with a shaped charge was deployed. A few minutes later, there was a detonation of the ammunition inside the howitzer, and we witnessed a significant explosion. Note that a portion of the shattered howitzer fell into a water reservoir located several hundred meters from the target. Additionally, a field shelter containing anti-tank mines was found nearby and destroyed by a kamikaze drone. Ukrainian reconnaissance drone detected a cluster of Russian tanks. Obviously, they were loading ammunition here. To hit the target, they used a HIMARS missile. The truck caught fire, and over time, the fire spread to adjacent trucks. And then the ammunition started detonating. Look at how kamikaze drones destroyed 2 Russian tanks together. The recent attacks by Russian forces near Avdiivka prove that the war has reached an impasse. Using tanks and armored vehicles in this war becomes pointless. No matter how many tanks you send into the attack, all of them without exception will be destroyed. No matter how many armored personnel carriers you use, all of them without exception will be defeated. Impenetrable minefields, a rain of cluster munitions, and the widespread use of FPV drones leave Russians with no chance to break through the Ukrainian defense. Russians lost hundreds of armored vehicles and tanks near Avdiivka, never reaching their goal. They barely managed to advance 1 kilometer. Burned armored vehicles are scattered across the fields as a monument to the fading era. Perhaps we are witnessing the sunset of the era of tanks and armored vehicles for the first time. If tanks are so easily destroyed, even on approach to the battlefield, is there any point in investing resources into their production? All of this suggests that old methods of warfare no longer work. Military art requires revolutionary changes. And of all existing weapons, drones are the ones most likely to claim the role of revolutionary weaponry. Ukrainians and Russians are just beginning to understand this. At the start of the war, long columns of Russian tanks and armored vehicles struck fear into the hearts of Ukraine's residents and all of Europe. But today, Russian tank columns evoke nothing but laughter or pity. The moment they appear on the horizon, we already know that within an hour, they will all be ablaze. Tank turrets will soar dozens of meters into the air, and crews will scatter like mice. An ordinary soldier armed with a kamikaze drone is what now instills fear. A young guy who loved playing computer games in his childhood puts on headset goggles and becomes a formidable military force. Sitting in his bunker, he can stop, shatter, and burn a massive column of tanks and armored vehicles in less than an hour. Such a scenario has never occurred in history before. When a drone carries a shaped charge toward the enemy, it's almost impossible to stop. Electronic warfare methods only help partially. They can be easily bypassed by strengthening or changing the frequency of the signal. Moreover, an enemy vehicle creating electronic interference can be easily identified and destroyed with a HIMARS missile, allowing the continued use of various types of drones. FPV drones have an incredibly high cost-effectiveness ratio. On the front lines, there's no weapon more crucial than drones. The cost-effectiveness ratio is higher than any other weapon. Moreover, drones have an advantage even over precision artillery. Excalibur and Smart 155 artillery shells have high accuracy but cannot hit moving targets, whereas a drone can. Also, artillery, including rocket artillery, is often useless against fortified enemy positions. Russians cover their trenches with thick concrete slabs that artillery cannot penetrate, but a drone can easily fly inside a bunker even through a small hole. A drone can drop a grenade with an incendiary mixture, even through the smallest opening. Meanwhile, Russia continues to bombard Ukrainian cities with Iranian kamikaze drones. Take a look at how Ukrainian defenders shoot them down. They use the Zu-23 anti-aircraft machine gun. You have to spend a lot of machine gun belt before the drone is damaged. In the video, we see a Russian drone falling and exploding. At night, these drones are illuminated by powerful spotlights and are also successfully brought down. Friends, if you watched until the end, please leave your mark in the form of a like on this video. I appreciate your attention. See you next episode.